persecution that Hashatan may try to throw your way, especially during the time frame of Yahweh's feast days, whatsoever it is, no matter how severe and intense. Don't let your heart be troubled, and neither be afraid. Because though Shaitan tries to scare you and run up on you and shake your faith, always remember, you serve He who's able to shake heaven and earth and all things that are in it. You serve Him who's able to shake, upset, throw down, and reform, refashion, and put back together all that's in this earth. So don't let any of Shaitan's tricks and devices scare you or shake you up. But let's go here to the book of Acts. Let's go to Acts chapter 2. I'm going to start at verse 1. And when the day of Shavut, or Pentecost, which is just the Greek word meaning 50. And when the day of Shavut was fully come, they were all with one accord in one place. They treated this 50th day, even though it was the first day of the week, the fact that this was a high Kodesh or holy day in Almighty Yahweh, this 50th day received the exact same treatment as the 7th day Shabbat. There was no working, there was no conducting of business, no commerce or anything of that nature. This day was given the same reverence as if it was a weekly 7th day Shabbat, but it was a high Shabbat. And suddenly there came a sound from the heavens, or Hashemayim, as of a rushing mighty wind, and it filled the house and all that they were sitting. And there appeared unto them cloven tongues like as of fire, and it sat upon each of them. So can you imagine that? You see the vision of the cloven tongues, the languages, the tongues being split in two, but yet at the same time, suddenly, as fast as you see the vision of the cloven tongues, now suddenly you become bilingual. You now have the ability to speak multiple languages. Imagine how serious that is. See the power of the Ruach HaKodesh? Seeing is believing. And they saw these cloven tongues, but then, just as fast as it appeared unto them, cloven tongues, they were all filled with the Ruach HaKodesh, and they began to speak with other tongues, other languages, as the Ruach HaKodesh gave them utterance. And imagine that. You ain't never spoke Spanish before, Brother Lloyd. Just imagine. In fact, you know what? We ain't even going to say Spanish because you might prove me wrong, and you may be able to speak Spanish a little more fluently than I can, but we going to switch languages. You ain't never spoke Ukrainian before, have you? You ain't never spoke Ukrainian before. Akmakai, you speak Hungarian? Hoti Charlene, you speak Mandarin? Now imagine suddenly just those three languages alone. You ain't never spoke none of them. But then suddenly, Yahweh's Ruach HaKodesh, the power of Yahweh's presence, comes through and fills the house with the sound of rushing mighty wind. Thunders through the building and fills the whole house. But then suddenly you can speak Mandarin. You can speak Hungarian. You can speak Ukrainian. You can speak French. You, little brother in the back. Yes, Jeremiah, you can speak French. And Isaiah, you can now speak Spanish because of the Ruach HaKodesh and the power of Almighty Yahweh's presence. This is some wonderful events that's unfolding right here. And there was also dwelling at Jerusalem, Yahudim, devout men out of every nation under heaven. Now, when this was noised abroad, the multitude came together, and they were confounded because that every man heard them speak in his own language. Now, the story's starting to spread now. People look up and, hey, man, look, I went to this place, man. I went to this temple, and they was in there, man. We had Shavut, man. Then suddenly, man, all you could hear was just noise, right? And then suddenly, after the noise died down, man, brother started preaching to me, man. He don't know me, man. I come all the way there from Mesopotamia, man. But then suddenly, one of them old Hebrews just suddenly started speaking in my language, and I could understand him. But then there was another Hebrew, man. He started speaking to somebody else. Man, he started speaking to the white dude, man. I think the white dude was from Britain, but he started speaking to him in English, man. This is what's happening. The multitude, they sharing their experiences now, and the story of it is being shared and noised abroad. And then they asked themselves, and they were all amazed, and they marveled, saying one to another, behold, are not all these which speak Galileans? Or not what? Now, ain't all them, imagine it, I'm updating it today. Ain't all them from Baltimore? Aren't they all American? They all American born, right? How in the world he's speaking in Chinese? How in the world he's speaking to the Vietnamese? How in the world he's speaking to the Hungarian or the Honduran? This is what's going on this day of Shavut. And how do we hear every man in our own tongue wherein we were born, Parthians and Medes and Elamites and the dwellers in Mesopotamia and Judea and Cappadocia and Pontus and in Asia, Phrygia and Pamphylia and Egypt and in the parts of Libya about Cyrene and the strangers of Rome, Yahudim and proselytes. So these were the Israelites that were born into it, as well as those that were converted. Everybody hearing somebody else speak and expound upon the word of Yahweh in their tongue, in their own language. Cretes and Arabians, we do hear them speak in our own tongues the wonderful works of Yahweh. And they were all amazed and they were in doubt, saying one to another, what means this? And I went, no, man, this ain't happening. No, he ain't really preaching to me from the word of Yahweh in Arabian, but he ain't never been there. Or no, he ain't preaching the word of Yahweh in Greek, but all he knows of it is where it's at on the map. This ain't happening. In other words, some question, well, what's the significance of this? What does this mean? And they were all amazed and they were in doubt, saying one to another, what means this? Others mockingly said, oh man, they drunk. They been around drinking. That's all that is. That's the only reason. They drunk. That's all it is. These men full of new wine. But Peter, standing up with the 11, lifted up his voice and he said unto them, you men of Yahudah, and all you that dwell at Jerusalem, be this thing known unto you, and hearken to my words. For these, they're not drunk. No, they ain't bent, they ain't tore down as you suppose. They ain't had no Jose Cuervo. They haven't had any Casamigos. They ain't had no Ciroc or no Ernest and Julio Gallo. Nothing, none of that nonsense. For these are not drunken as you suppose, seeing it is but the 3rd hour of the day. So they think the people drunk. 9 a.m. You thinking they drunk, but the Ruach HaKodesh falling upon them. But this is that which was spoken by the prophet Joel, or the prophet Joel. And it shall come to pass in the last days, saith Yahweh, that I'll pour out my Ruach, or my spirit, upon all flesh. And your sons and your daughters shall prophesy, and your young men shall see visions, and your old men shall dream dreams. Now you want to cross-reference this later on to find out where the apostle was preaching. See, this is the thing here. This is the point also for all of the people in the world, be they Christian, Hebrew, or whatever else. They just sit back at home listening to Erica Badu, whatever the case may be. For all the people that want to throw away the New Testament, roadblock. Your rat hole been stopped up here, because now you got to answer the question now. All right, if we throw away the Old Testament, here it is. We got a scenario now where a man right there, smack dab in the midst of the New Testament, living, having walked with the Messiah, having seen him put to death, having seen him resurrected. But what he's speaking, he ain't quoting Matthew, he ain't quoting Mark, he ain't quoting Luke, John, he ain't quoting none of Shaul's writings. This man here is quoting the prophet Joel. Now, if you want to look this up later, you can go to the 2nd chapter of Joel 2:28 down through verse 32, and look this up for yourself in your spare time. But it says, this is that which was spoken by the prophet Joel. And this will come to pass in the last days, saith Yahweh, I will pour out of my Ruach upon all flesh. And your sons and your daughters shall prophesy. And your young men shall see visions. And your old men shall dream dreams. And on my servants and on my handmaidens I will pour out in those days of my Ruach. And they shall prophesy. And I'll show wonders in the Hashemayim above, and signs in the earth beneath. Now they looking at a sign unfold right there in the earth, right smack dab in their face. They looking at it, all these different men of different nationalities being spoken to and hearing the word of Yahweh preached in their own individual languages, fulfilling what the prophet had wrote. Blood and fire and vapor of smoke. Then he goes into the end time prophecies as well. The sun shall be turned into darkness and the moon into blood before that great and notable day of Yahweh. And it shall come to pass that whosoever shall call on the name of Yahweh shall be saved. So only one. Just making sure everybody's awoke. Just making sure everybody got the same version of the book. Or at least this rendering right here. No plurality, no duality. One name. Ye men of Israel, hear these words. Yeshua HaMashiach of Nazareth, a man approved of Yahweh among you by miracles and wonders and signs which Yahweh did by him in the midst of you, as you yourselves also know. him being delivered by the determinate counsel and foreknowledge of Yahweh, you've taken, and by wicked hands you put him to death, and you've slain him, whom Yahweh has raised up, having loosed the pains of death, because it was not possible that he should be beholden of it. Letting the people know right here on this day, you witnessing prophecy unfold and play out right before you. But here it is, the mockers and the scoffers. Oh man, they just drinking. They drunk. That's all that is. They ain't do nothing great. They just in there. They've been vaping. They've just been sipping a little something. That's all. But yet Yahweh pour out his Ruach HaKodesh upon that entire service and allowed everybody to hear the word of Almighty Yahweh in their own languages. And you had mockers in the midst, which you will also have in the latter days. Know that of a surety, Israel. You're going to have some in your midst that won't believe, that doubt, that argue, just looking for disputations. They'll shout, they'll say hallelujah, they'll agree to this, they'll agree to that. But at the time appointed, Spirit of Shaitan will jump on them, and they'll look for an occasion, they'll look for an opportunity to raise up some contention, or to raise up an argument, or just for some sake of disputation. So just as it was in the apostles' days, don't get fooled thinking that in these latter days, everybody naming the name of Yahweh is your friend. Everybody is your brother. Don't get caught thinking that, because you're going to have some people come in, they're going to name the name of Yahweh. They'll even take their names, switch their names around and attach the name of Yahweh unto their own names. But yet at the same time, they'll be as false as a $5 bill with my face on it, brother Lord. Now, I don't know how far you going to go with that, trying to put that $5 bill in your gas tank, or how much you going to buy, or how long you going to eat with that $5 bill with my face on it. But you'll have brethren come in, they'll be just as false as U.S. currency with my face on it. That's where the Ruach HaKodesh comes in, with that spirit of discernment. The same way in which you go into the stores, these different merchants, they have those different pens or what have you, that when the money is funny, or if your skin is to the contrary of the merchant that you're dealing with, suddenly they got to hold yours up to the light, and they'll run the pen across it, and it's supposed to turn a certain color if it's fraudulent, and the marking turns a certain color if it's legitimate. The same way in which they have those means whereby they detect fraudulent money, that Ruach HaKodesh will enable you to detect fraudulent brethren as well. It will allow you to detect fraudulent servants or brethren posing themselves to be servants of the Most High as well. That's why we need that Ruach HaKodesh in these latter days. It's not just something we talk about, or for sake of having something to say, or for sake of speaking. No, that Ruach HaKodesh, the Ruach HaKodesh is as pivotal to you as a Hebrew as a police officer's firearm and badge are to him. It's as pivotal to you as that police officer's vest is to him. The Ruach HaKodesh is as pivotal to you as a nurse's credentials are to her in the operating room or an emergency room. That Ruach is of utmost importance, that we have it, be filled with it in these latter days, and that we order our steps aright so as to allow Almighty Yahweh to not be ever so angered with us that he deprives us of it or takes it from us. Because Dawid asked Almighty Yahweh, take not your Ruach HaKodesh from me. So that's the same thing we want. You think you have it? Live like it. You think you have it, you think you striving and moving throughout the earth with it, pray and ask Almighty Yahweh to not take it from you. If you lack it, but you desperately want it, live like it, and not like the world, not in accordance with the world. But if you lack the Ruach HaKodesh and you would earnestly desire to have it, pray and ask Almighty Yahweh to first and foremost give you a mind to seek after it. The scripture tells us to not be conformed to this world, but rather be transformed by what? The renewing of the mind. So if you lack the Ruach HaKodesh and you feel though you want it and you earnestly desire it, pray and ask Almighty Yahweh to renew your mind. Take from you all that which is unacceptable before Almighty Yahweh. All things, thoughts, processes, patterns of behavior and speech and everything that would separate you and drive a wedge of division between you and the Most High. Pray and ask Almighty Yahweh, take all of those things from you and remove those things from your vessel, so that your mind can be renewed, and so that your vessel can be cleansed and thoroughly furnished with the Ruach HaKodesh, The same way in which you'll see people take a shell of a house, especially in some of these major cities in America. You see houses, Baltimore in particular. We make the joke here. We say Baltimore is probably the only city in the world where the trees have better housing than the homeless people. Because in Baltimore, you go in a certain neighborhood, you can see trees growing out of a house like absolutely nothing. But then you can turn the corner and you can see a homeless man with nowhere to sleep, sleeping over a grate or sleeping under a bridge or what have you, just laid out in the street. But the trees have shelter. And just as the developers and the contractors come in, take those houses, take them from nothing, take them from shells, but then they make them single family. I would remove all of those things far from our vessels. Rightness where we may be wrong. Build us up when the devil trying to tear us down. Strengthen and fortify us where Shaitan would like to weaken us, so that we can be vessels fit for the master's use. And let's go here briefly. Let's go to 1 John. We go to 1 John chapter 4. 1 John 4:1 tells us plainly, Beloved, believe not every spirit, believe not every ruach, but try the ruach to see whether they are of Yahweh, because many false Nabaim are gone out into the world. And just as there are many false Nabaim gone out into the world, you can best believe that there are many false sheep gone out into the world as well, pretending and masquerading to be the children of Israel, to be the children of the Most High, while simultaneously their ultimate goal and intention is to discredit and to bring defamation to the people of the Most High. You got plenty of people out there that will name the name of Yahweh, but then those same people, they'll profess to keep the commandments, they'll profess to keep the Torah, but then they'll call Yahweh the Lord at the same damn time, disrespecting that which deserves all respect, he whom deserves all recognition, but they're disrespecting it. Oh, the Lord this, or God that, but they'll want you to believe them to be true Hebrews, and then they'll fight you tooth and nail, or so they think, to justify their disrespect of the Father, and then get mad when you stand up on the behalf of the Father and call out the nonsense, and you highlight to them the disrespect, but then at the same time, those same so-called Hebrews that want to disrespect the Most High by calling him those names of Balaam or calling him that shameful thing, those same Hebrews, they'll go home to their spouse. They'll be intimate. And in the time of intimacy, when their intimacy hits that pinnacle, they'll want to kill their spouse for calling out somebody else's name because of all the hard work that they put in to get their spouse to that pinnacle. But they don't think Yahweh has a right to feel that same way. Now, if you upset because you were called somebody else's name during the orgasm, but yet Almighty Yahweh breathes the breath of life into each and every one of our vessels, places his Ruach HaKodesh upon those who he sees fit, equips us with everything that we stand in need of on a daily basis, but yet we think it's okay to just call him or just thank the Lord for all that Yahweh's done for us. But yet we want to masquerade as the Hebrews. We want to put on our tzitz. We want people to measure our Hebrewicity or Hebrewosity based upon an outward appearing while being completely void of the Ruach HaKodesh. And if you lack that Ruach HaKodesh and you don't have the eyes to see it, they may fool you. They may pull a fast one on you. But the scripture tells us plainly to try the spirits to see whether they are of Yahweh. Because many of them, false prophets and false shepherds, sheep, messengers, everything, gone out into the world. But hereby we know the spirit of Yahweh, or the Ruach of Yahweh. Every Ruach that confesses that Yahshua HaMashiach is come in the flesh is of Yahweh. So you know that those who fight him, those who reject him, or those who want to just reduce Yahshua HaMashiach to just being a mere man such as myself, you know for a fact, okay, if they come along and they fighting HaMashiach, you know, all right, that ain't one of Yahweh's. That ain't one of his. As the apostle said, they went out from among us, but they were not of us. And every spirit that confesses not that Yahshua HaMashiach is come in the flesh is not of Yahweh. And this is that spirit of the anti-Messiah, whereof you've heard that it should come, and even now, already is it in the world. See that Ruach HaKodesh in your vessel, it removes all of the spiritual blinders. It hips you to all of the nonsense. That in the 1980s, it was a movie, Rowdy Piper, the wrestler, and Keith David. A movie called They Live. And there was a scene in the movie where Rowdy Piper had to fight Keith David to get Keith David to put on these particular glasses that would give Keith David a particular level of vision that everybody else around him at that time lacked. But Keith David, like many in Israel, many of us today, he was reluctant. He was skeptical. He didn't want to believe it. He was looking at the world just in rose-colored glasses, if you will, just seeing everything as it was. But after the fight and the scuffle, and he put on those glasses, then he began to see just how demonic and evil everything in the world around him was. This is what that Ruach HaKodesh of Almighty Yahweh will do for all of us. The Ruach HaKodesh will allow you to see the world. While the world will want to present itself in a state of glory and decadence, the world, they want to paint itself up as beautiful and make you cling and clamor to be a part of the things that are in the world now. But that Ruach HaKodesh will show you the true decay of society on a whole. You'll see that everything that's wicked is being uplifted and promoted, while all righteousness is being abased and bust down simultaneously. And you also see with the Ruach HaKodesh that this current world, its glory days are behind it, and its end is fast approaching. But those that are void of the Ruach HaKodesh, they still want to hold on and still want to ride this train, even though it's on a highway to hell. But yet, that Ruach HaKodesh is what's going to save the souls of them that love Almighty Yahweh. You're going to need that Ruach HaKodesh to get into the kingdom. The same way in which man has different venues in society where wholesale clubs like Sam's, BJ's, and Costco, you may need cards or things like that to show your proof of membership before you can get in. You don't just walk in off the street, just, yeah, hey, look, just bypass the security, just start throwing stuff in your cart. No, they check you at the door to make sure you're an active member and to make sure your credentials are current, valid, and up to date before you go in and start shopping. The same thing with Almighty Yahweh's kingdom to come. You ain't just walking in, you a thief and a murderer. But then you get gunned down and killed because of your thievery and your murder. And you wake up in the resurrection. Oh, man, you know what? Oh, wow. It sure is hot. Man, wow. Oh, man, water at. Oh, man, you know what? I'm done with this. Oh, is the kingdom set up? Yeah, let me bop in there. No, don't work like that. That Ruach HaKodesh, the credentials that all of us are going to need in order to gain access into Almighty Yahweh's kingdom. You don't want to be like the man from Matthew chapter 22 that managed to make it to the wedding, but then he was found to not have the proper wedding garment. And they, hey, friend, how you make it in here not being properly clad? Come on, hey, you know what? We can get you up out of here now. You don't want to get to the kingdom or think you on your way to the kingdom, but you completely voided that Ruach HaKodesh, because in the time of tribulation, the book of Revelations talks about the four winds of judgment being held back from the earth. One angel in particular telling the others, hurt not the trees nor the wine until we have sealed the servants of our Elohim in their foreheads. Now, the man who many Hebrews hate and despise, in a letter to the Ephesians, he broke down what that seal was. In the book of Ephesians, the Apostle Shavuot talks about how that Ruach HaKodesh is that seal. But many of the Hebrews hate Shavuot. They can't stand Paul. They can't stand him. But yet, many of his writings entail pivotal pieces to the puzzle that pertains to the salvation of your soul and the salvation of my soul and our redemption. But let's go here. Let's leave the book of Yachanan. We're going back here into 1 Timothy. 1 Timothy chapter 4 verse 1 tells us also that the Ruach, the Spirit, speaks expressly. It's plain, simple. There ain't no dark sentences, no parables, no codes or anything. But the Ruach speaks expressly that in the latter times some shall depart from the faith, giving heed to seducing spirits and doctrines of devils. And those that depart, you know of a surety. You give heed to those seducing spirits, you can know for a fact that the Ruach wasn't present in that vessel. The Ruach wasn't abiding in that house. You give heed to seducing spirits and lend yourself and your ears to be an audience to the teachers of doctrines of devils. We know the Ruach was absent in that equation. Speaking lies and hypocrisy and having their conscience seared with a hot iron, forbidding to marry, and commanding to abstain from meats which Yahweh had created to be received with thanksgiving of them which believe and know the truth. See, you had these spirits walking around in the earth. Well, don't do this, don't do that, don't do such and such a thing. And they'll masquerade as men of Almighty Yahweh, but they'll condemn marriage. They'll condemn eating this meat or that meat, things that Yahweh spoke of and that Yahweh gave unto man to eat. And their only argument, oh, well, it's all tainted, it's all defiled. Look, but Yahshua HaMashiach told the apostles concerning the same thing that we're grappling with today, as far as meats and drinks. He said that if they shall eat or drink any deadly thing, it shall in no wise harm them. But yet, these men masquerading as men of Yahweh, doing just what the apostle laid out. He called them out long before they ever emerged. He called them out long before their mamas ever met their daddies and was seduced by those lying, deceiving spirits that the daddy threw on their mama to create and conceive the false prophets that we have today. Shows on them, calling them out well in advance. But we need that Ruach HaKodesh in order to be able to discern. We don't want to be one of those just floating around like a person at a buffet, just going from kiosk to kiosk. You know how those buffets are set up where over here you might have 10 different foods over here, this space you can choose from. Oh, you need that Ruach HaKodesh. Just as those merchants carry those pens to run across that money to make sure it's legitimate, you need that Ruach HaKodesh in you as well, so that you, when you encounter false prophets, you pick right up on it. You realize, hey, oh, this ain't one of Yahweh's here. He sound good, but that one statement over there that he said contradicts everything else in the book. You don't need that Ruach HaKodesh, but you're going to have people lying to you. You're going to have people seeking to deceive you. Some going to try to get you to reject the Messiah, while others will come around and try to get you to believe that they are the Messiah. Yahshua told us about him in advance when they say he's here or when he's there. Pay them no mind. You will need that Ruach HaKodesh in these latter days. Now let's go on a little bit. Let's go from the book of Timothy. This Ruach HaKodesh is so important. And it's not just a phenomenon that emerged in the New Testament. This Ruach HaKodesh, just like Yahshua HaMashiach, both of them present all throughout the Old Testament as well. But you just got to know how to read Yahweh's word to find and see the evidence of both of them being there. We go here to the book of Tehillim, or Psalm 51. King Dawid asked Yahweh that you may be justified when you speak and be clear when you judge. For behold, I was shapen in iniquity, and in sin did my mother conceive me. Behold, you desire truth in the inward parts, and in the hidden part you shall make me to know wisdom. And I ain't just talking about in the intestines, the bladder, the kidney, and all those things when he talks about the hidden part. When he speaks of the hidden part, he's talking now the heart of your mind, those deep, dark recesses of your thoughts, where nobody knows what you're thinking, but you, Almighty Yahweh, and Shaitan, who seeks to plant evil seeds in your thoughts to get you off the path that leads unto salvation. This is what Dawid was saying where it says, and in the hidden part you shall make me to know wisdom. Purge me with hyssop, and I shall be clean. Wash me, and I shall be purer than snow. Make me to hear joy and gladness, that the bones which you've broken may rejoice. Hide your face from my iniquity, and blot out all mine iniquity. Create in me a clean heart, O Yahweh, and renew a right spirit within me. See, before the Ruach HaKodesh can enter any of our vessels, everything that's unright, everything that's unclean, everything that's impure, it has to go. Just like you would do in your houses today. If you got a living room set, you can't stand the living room set, or the living room set is old and outdated, you want a new living room set. You can't just bring in the new living room set and then, just place it right there and expect to have the same amount of space and expect to entertain the same guests, the same family members, while you got two living room sets in the room taking up all of the space, the old and the new. Can't do it. It's just like a landlord. If you own property, if by chance you have any rental properties, see how that goes when you sell or rent this property to two different families at the same time. Take a single family home and rent it out to the Smiths over here, But then at the same time, once the Smiths get settled in, you go and double back 90 days later and rent it out to the Wilsons and allow the Wilsons to move in simultaneously while they have a larger family than the Smiths. See how that plays out for you. And on a spiritual scale, ain't no way in the world you're going to have the spirit of wickedness and the spirit of righteousness occupying the exact same vessel. Can't do it. This is why Dawid asked Almighty Yahweh, create in me a clean heart, O Yahweh, and renew a right spirit within me. Cast me not away from your presence, and take not your Ruach HaKodesh from me. That's a gift. You don't want that gift